Now we're live.
And we are live. Hey, everybody.
How's
Hey.
everybody doing? What's up?
Hey, crew. Hey, crew. Hey, crew. It's Wednesday. It is the last day of September.
Ooh, the year flew by, huh?
It flew by, but it was slow at the same time.
Yeah, it was like
In a weird way.
June was very long.
Yeah.
You know, that's how it goes. But yes, today is Wednesday, September 30th. Welcome to the day after the I guess conservative and liberal media are both calling the shit show.
Yeah, it was on fire.
I have never heard so many curse words on CNN in my life. They don't even care anymore.
Added so soon. They cut the debate off and they were like, I'm sorry, excuse my language. This is cable. This is a shit show.
People were mad.
Yeah,
People was heated, man.
Mad. I'm not like we are definitely in the dawn of a new era and a new day because yesterday was insane. But welcome to Yup Live. Today is a special episode. It's always a special episode, but we have a lot to talk about. I'm sure everyone has been watching the aftermath of the debates. If you watch the debates, you have some things to say and you have some ways that you feel. We all do too, so we're going to talk about it. I'm Shariq LeMay, we have Miss Jasmine Laverne, and we have Lawrence, Mr. Bobby Boy Bob, and Miss Gigi is going to hop in just a moment. But yeah, let's take it away with our first topic, the Supreme Court.
Let's go. I'm so excited for this. So I feel like I'm a political scientist by trade. I'm a lawyer, but I love this shit. So I had so much energy. I was ready yesterday to go. So I can't wait. So yeah, let's go straight into the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court nomination, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, has been made by Sir Donald Trump, and he's nominated Judge Amy Barrett. She's a former Notre Dame law school professor of, I think, Cuban descent, if I'm not wrong. Interestingly, I think she is. Interestingly enough, though, she doesn't have a horrible record. It's not as bad as a lot of people thought it would be. It's a woman, which is somewhat of a surprise. Some were like, well, obviously he would go that route to replace the late Ginsburg. But she does still have a record of being rather conservative on issues like the Affordable Health Care Act, or colloquially termed Obamacare, conservative in regards to women's rights and pro-choice issues. And so we are here. We'll get into the debate later. I'm sure that's what everybody tuned in for. We got a lot of, unfortunately, a lot of tea to talk about. But in this segment about the Supreme Court, he did say that he would try to push the nominee through. 4 years ago, when Obama was in office, no, 8 years ago, I think it was, when Obama was in office, similar situation happened where someone passed away. And the Democrats were like, hey, we should wait. And the Republicans were like, no, we're going to push it through. So now the reverse is happening. And a lot of the Democrats believe that we should wait until the election happens in November and see who the next president is. And they should make the selection. I know that's kind of just, it seems on the face more like an X's and O's, a procedural matter. But as we talked about before, it's really important because the Supreme Court justice who gets elected will be in there for life.
Right.
And they will be able to make decisions for life. So how do you guys feel? Do you feel like the president here should be able to make the decision, or should we wait?
I feel like they're not going to wait. I feel like it's all one big hypocrisy. But I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that they chose her. Just if you look at her buildup and her whole entire background, she has 7 adopted children from Haiti. She's a stellar person. She's, she went to Harvard. On record and on paper, she looks like a top choice, and she's young, seems like she's very energetic, and she has a squeaky clean record. I don't think she's been feeling on anybody back when she was younger, so I don't think we have to worry about that. I honestly think they're going to push it through. Do I think it should happen? No. Do I think the Democrats are going to, do what they have to do and do something extraordinary? No, because that's not what the Democrats do. However, I feel if we do get Biden in, we may end up packing the court, but he didn't really speak to that. So I don't know. What do you think, Jasmine?
I don't think he's going to pack the court because I don't think the Democrats have any backbone. But how do I feel about Amy? So Amy's this extraordinary woman, blah, blah, blah. But my thing is we love to see women do amazing things. And we talked about this, I think earlier we talked about Biden and like symbolism.
Mhm.
But with the white feminist movement, I think they always get blindsided about, oh, it's a woman and that's all I need to worry about. She already had comments about her or some issues with Roe v. Wade.
Mhm.
So that's the biggest priority on the ballot that Trump says doesn't exist. So I think it's really interesting. I think that, yes, we love to see women do big things, but also we just have to be careful about who that woman serves and what her priorities are, because we have to remember the intersectionality of whiteness and feminism. It's different.
Okay. You know, teach them about that. Put them up.
Than what the collective people need.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just so our audience knows, I'll give a brief history of packing the court. Back in 1930s, President Roosevelt came up with this idea, tried to pass legislation and threatened the Supreme Court saying, if you keep stopping my legislation, stopping all of the bills that I want to go through, then I'll put more justices in the Supreme Court. There's 9 now. I'll put as many as it needs to be until I get a majority and you vote in my decision. Now, this all came after the Great Recession. So Roosevelt was trying to put in things to help the economy start back going, give different protections for poor people, give, ironically enough, things like Affordable Health Care Act. He was trying to give welfare for the first time, pensions for the first time. And in that situation, the court kind of punked out. What they said was they didn't say it, but in reality, they just stopped fighting all of his legislation so he wouldn't actually put more justices in there. So that's what a lot of people think the Democrats might do. But as Jasmine said, you know, a lot of people think they're too soft and ain't got the backbone to do that.
They are. They are, but I think it could happen and it should happen. I mean, granted, our population is much larger than what it was before. You know, think about that. Diversity is a thing, and that needs to be reflected in the highest court of the land. On top of the fact that these are lifetime appointees, you know, so she's 48, you know, she may be in there for a good 40 years, you know what I'm saying? So, and then to my knowledge, and correct me, Lawrence, if I'm wrong, there is nothing in writing saying that there has to be only 9 or less Supreme Court justices. So there's really nothing stopping it from happening other than the fact that Democrats don't control the Senate. That's true.
Now, the one, you know, as they say, my grandma says, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So my question to y'all is, if we do this now, then in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, we get another crazy Republican in office. Now he like, forget it. I'm about to throw 100 justices in there. Then what do we do?
Right.
You know.
Hey,
oh, she has American passport and everything. She is ready.
She is ready.
Yes.
Wait, one more. I wanted before I forget this thought. I also want to talk about how Trump during the debate last night, he said that it's Biden and Obama's fault that they didn't put in their Supreme Court nomination after Justice Scalia, and that was kind of. I did not agree with Trump, but I was like, yeah, again, the Democrats should have fought a little bit harder to put a replacement in and honor his 4 years as president. Donald Trump said, I have 4 years as president. I don't have 3.5. Even though I'm going through this campaign right now, I'm still president and I do what I want. And he did say that. And so maybe Obama should have been doing what he wanted and Biden should have backed him up harder.
Man, here we go bashing my president again, man. All right. That's a fair point. That's a fair point.
I think it's a great president. I love
it. Okay. I know we got a lot to get to with the debate, so I'll go ahead and segue into our next topic. This one should be just quick and easy. I don't know if everybody heard or not, but reports from very, very reputable sources, the New York Times, came out and said that Trump allegedly paid $750 in taxes last year. I mean, in 2017 and in 2016. That's just ridiculous. That's just a news story. That's it. This whole time when he was running for election, everyone was trying to get him to release his taxes. He was saying, no, it's under audit. I can't, I won't. And now that all these sources are coming out saying he paid $750, which is ridiculous because I pay way more than that taxes. And to be fair to him, yesterday. He said, I pay a lot more. I pay millions, but you know, the evidence says he pays $750. How do y'all feel about that?
What's that face he made during the debate, Lawrence?
That's my chuck.
PG, what are your thoughts?
So my thoughts is, as an entrepreneur, I just kind of feel like there is taxes that you pay personally, and then there's taxes that you pay on your actual business. So I am a little, I wish I had more clarity on if the 750 was on like his business taxes or like his personal taxes. And as a business owner,
Personal.
It was personal.
It's personal.
Okay, so here's the thing. There is a lot of wealthy people that do not pay a lot in taxes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I personally am trying to figure out how they get around it. I'm not mad that he only pays $750. I'm hating because I don't know the loopholes, but there are loopholes in taxes. So he's not the only one. There are several people that I'm not going to shout out or name that, you know, they don't pay as much as they should on taxes.
Jeff Bezos.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that we have to figure out, yes, he should have paid more, but we also have to figure out these loopholes and how the rich are getting richer during this crisis and this pandemic, because there is a method to it. And if we are not careful, we'll get distracted by the small stuff, the 750, and not thinking like, let me do my research and figure out how he's getting away with that.
So so to counter your point, should I be trying to get away with that, or should I have a little bit more ethics and participate in our country and not? And it's twofold here. The billionaires, they can get taxed or less, blah, blah, blah. But the people who are paying the most in taxes, one, are using most of the taxes. So I'm poor. It's usually recycling back to me. But it's that middle class who pay so much. Like, I have a friend who makes six figures easily, but she doesn't take home six figures because she's middle class, and she is getting paid less. She's getting paid as much as a person who's lower income, but her tax bracket's so much higher. But then you have the billionaires of the world who are paying low taxes. So the middle class is the one that's getting effed up. And so is it ethically right? Or should I be trying to be this millionaire, have loopholes and scheme the system all the time? Like,
it's about knowing the system. Unfortunately, a lot of us don't know the system. I, for one, didn't know the system. I'm still learning the system. It's about write-offs and figuring out what's deductible. So when you talk about the middle class and the higher class, unfortunately, the higher class, they're all sharing the same knowledge up there. So that's why a lot of them are doing the exact same thing. I personally had to owe way more taxes until I learned how to structure my business different and learn how to do certain deductions. So I just think that we have to be knowledgeable. We have to do our research, and sometimes it takes a lot more time. I'm saying myself, I need to do more research so that I can pay less taxes, because taxes are killing me because I have a business and I have a W-2. So without the knowledge, you know, you're going to continue to, as you said, get screwed over because you don't know the knowledge of how you can, you know, get those.
Yeah.
So I'll go ahead and read Ashley Hamilton's comment. What if it was ethical and legal though, or is it unethical to take advantage of tax loopholes? And it's the way I feel about it, right? Yes, there are a lot of people that take advantage of these loopholes. Yes, there are plenty of billionaires, and we need to restructure the tax code. One thing, Trump is against that. Trump is the one that's lowered the corporate tax rate, so corporations pay low taxes. We have the lowest tax rate almost in the world, and we're a developed country. All the other developed countries have a higher corporate tax rate, one. And two, Biden paid over $1 million in taxes. Obama paid over $2 million in taxes. All the other politicians are paying more. So my point is, we should hold our president to a higher standard than I do the regular corporation guy. If you want to go out there and be a billionaire, that's great. But if you want to lead the country, you need morals, you need ethics, and you need values, in my opinion. And you should be held to a higher standard. That's the reason why when we look for a Supreme Court justice, you're not looking for me. You're not looking for like down the street. You're looking for somebody that's done. It's been a little more ethical. That's been even more moral throughout their career.
Right.
But he was
so
a businessman before he was a politician.
A businessman. So two things. Plenty of us are small business, right? Plenty of us are small business owners, right? I know me personally, every year I have to pay $800 for my LLC.
That's
so to think that,
you know,
and that's in just the state of California. So to think that he only paid $750, you know, like, let's get our CPAs together. Let's make this work. So I mean, I understand. The thing that concerns me specifically about Trump and what I've been hearing in the news is that he actually does some other loopholes with his kids, which I'm mad that Biden didn't bring up, but we'll talk about that, about the debates later. But we know that he's paying Ivanka as an employee and also cut her, I think, roughly around $2 million as a consultant. Now that to me is fraud.
So that's she get a 1099 and a W-2 from her daddy.
So yeah, like, I mean, y'all educate me on that.
Right now, I would make them an employee.
Say that again.
I mean, if I had kids right now, I would make them. I said if I had children right now, I would make them employees. I would
but I'm not voting for you for president, Gigi.
No, it's one thing to make she's an employee.
There are a lot of people that do that.
No, that's not the problem. She's an employee, but she's also being paid as an outside consultant. That's a no-no. You can't do that. So that's where there's some tricky things that are coming on. So,
and it's also he deducted $7,000 to get his hair done.
I saw that. I saw that one.
The apprentice was paying for it. He is a lie. He didn't have that receipt. They say check them receipts.
You see the tracks he had yesterday? I saw that.
Right. I didn't see that. I wasn't noticing. They all look the same.
It was bad.
Yeah, he had some tracks hanging.
No,
it wasn't worth $7,000.
Back to Gigi's point. I'm all for putting the kids on. Yes, absolutely. I think so many people should do that. You should be setting your kids up for the utmost respect. They should have LLCs. They should have all of that. But I think what he's doing in terms of doubling up, you know what I mean, and then, like I said, he had the nerve to try to call out Hunter Biden the way he did in regards to him and his
Oh paper. Yeah, we're gonna get there.
So to me, his ethics just don't match up with anything, of course. But the fact that Republicans are just excusing this and people are just making so many excuses, and he's supposed to be a man of the people, I don't understand it.
And I think because Ashley said I plan on being one of those wealthy people, and sis, me too, girl. But I think we have to understand how much money the 1% actually has. Like, if we have $1 billion, we're going to be comfortable. And again, we pay more of our wealth in taxes than the 1%. So we're not able to collect wealth because we're getting taxed. So it's a systemic problem. Like, we're never going to be able to catch up if we are paying less taxes. And I mean, more taxes than them, because it's always going to be the offset. I think that's my point. I forget where my train of thought was going.
It's just ridiculous.
I'm just tired.
But I mean, do you guys feel as though that means there's some sort of beacon of hope for us? Like, we should be able to subscribe to that and be able to figure out these loopholes? Or, I mean, what do you guys think?
I think it's generational wealth. I think it comes with generational wealth rather than, I mean, yes, we might be the lucky ones that are Jeff Bezos of our families, but I think he got passed down. When usually people build their wealth from being passed down. The whole conversation yesterday was about family. We talked about the sons. We talked about what his father's given him, the heritage of things.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry. The heritage of everything. We don't have that same generational wealth or that same lineage that white people have. I forget where I was reading, but we know that most presidents, most politicians, they're all in the same family. We can count how the Bushes are related to this person and that person, and marry this person. But if we're not having marriage, back to our conversation last week, if we're not having marriages, then we can't build that generational wealth that can have power and that we can have wealth down the line.
Absolutely.
Like my granddaddy always told me, Hines is a last name.
All right, sorry for the technical difficulties. And I think we need to have a whole conversation on generational wealth. I think that's a whole episode topic that we need to dive into. But for the sake of time, let's just go ahead and dive into the debate. I think we should just go the same way they kind of went. So we'll just go topic by topic.
Yeah.
Early in the debate, obviously they said their pleasantries. They started off with highs. I even thought that was a lot. And in the beginning, Joe Biden said, "Mr. President." I was like, okay, try to be nice. That lasted for a good 5 minutes. I feel like the first major topic was on the coronavirus. They kind of jumped right into it. Trump made several comments about how we had the best economy ever in the US history, lowest unemployment rate before the coronavirus came. And he said that Joe Biden wouldn't have been able to handle it if he was in this position. Biden obviously said, you know, you told people to put a little bleach in your arm if you got the coronavirus. You knew for months in advance that it was very serious, and you told people that it would be over by Easter. And therefore, a lot of these 200,000 American lives that we lost are partially due to your leadership, your unwillingness to shut down the country when you needed to. We've heard this like forever now. You know, coronavirus, since it started really popping off in February and March, people have been talking back and forth about whose fault it was. Now that we're coming up into the position of potentially getting a vaccine, a lot of people are talking about mandating a vaccine, whether or not it would be safe under the Trump administration, if he's just going to lie about it and say that it's ready when it's really not. I guess my major issue at this point, as a person that does want to go outside and does want to have fun, but understands that whatever's been happening in this Trump administration hasn't been like the best information. Does that like make a big factor for you guys when it comes to choosing your next president? Like, is coronavirus one of the number one things that you look at in Biden or Trump, or is it something that you feel like will naturally just figure itself out?
It's going to disappear. You think
it's going to disappear?
I don't think it's going to disappear.
Okay.
I don't know. I feel like there's so many things going in my head in regards to that conversation and the interaction that the two of them had. I just, for the life of me, don't understand how he's making an argument on a hypothetical. I just don't understand how that's even flying. Like, if you were the president, you would have done this, and it would have been awful. Like, I don't even understand how he's even allowed to say that, and people are just excusing him for saying it. For him to just say, if you were the president, it would have been way worse. You said I shouldn't have banned China and you know, all these different things. So I just feel as though I'm praying and I'm hopeful that, you know, it will go away. I think we're still very far from that being an actual, you know, actuality for us. I think that if we did have Biden in there and he did speak about, I think, what was it, the swine flu or one of the other many diseases that came around during in Obama's term. And I feel as though the thousands versus the hundreds of thousands of fatalities speaks for itself. So it is what it is, basically. I
agree. And, you know, I love my guy, Chris. My whole tap comes out when I hear mandatory vaccines. I'm an anti-vaxxer. I'm an anti-vaxxer. They say get it like the whole country or the whole world is going to be vaccinated by 2024. One, I don't want no damn vaccine. But two, it's like, my thing is, if we can live in a holistic environment where we find out modern ways to space each other out while having relationships that are thriving, I don't think we need a vaccine. I think we can have some holistic therapeutic treatments that are probably more safer. Because I'm the type of person, I don't really like medicine anyway. I will fight to take a cough drop. So that's just my perspective on the vaccine. I don't think it's going to go away, but I think as millennials, we have to be responsible for ourselves, and like we can take our risk because we're young. If I might not care that I might have heart disease for the next 30 years because I'm living my life now and carpe diem, but maybe my 40-year-old cousin who has kids, she feels a different way. So respect her perspective and her vote, and then respect your elders who are the 90-somethings, the people in the nursing homes. Respect them enough to like find some kind of safe, socially distance.
Yeah.
So that's a really good argument, because I hear that from a lot from Black people, right? This coronavirus topic, especially when it comes to vaccines, and I understand where the insecurity comes from, like the Tuskegee experiments. Like, this country has been lying to us for a long time, putting stuff in our bodies, killing us off, using our organs, and it goes on forever. But when we look at situations like the coronavirus, like that whole idea of, oh, we could just socially distance and the young people can do your own thing. We live in such densely populated areas. Like, you know, we live in Oakland, California, Miami, so many people. It's impossible to say, okay, well, I'll take my risk as a 20-something-year-old. But the old people, what are they supposed to do? Just stay in the house? If you go to the grocery store, you're
Right.
gonna interact with some old people. If you go to the gas station,
Right.
you old people. So then what do we do then? I just like to hear it from your guys' perspective, because I don't know where I fall on vaccines. Like, I might take it, I might not, but I'm not big one way or another. But for the people that are anti-vaxxers, my question is just like, then what's the solution?
So I think, oh, you want to go, Sheree?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So you know how we have like the months, and like if we can't go to school without a vaccine, I think that's fine. Like the mumps, measles, all those things. I was trying to look up while you were talking a vaccine that came out for a couple years. I was in high school, and I think it was like human papillonia. And I remember, yeah, and what's the vaccine that they had? It was always a commercial.
HPV vaccine?
Yes, HPV vaccine.
Yeah.
I remember going to the doctors and he was trying to give it to me, and my girl was like, "No, you don't need that." And I really didn't need it. I don't have human papillonia now. But it's like they give stuff out just because they want to give stuff out and make money, and that's big pharma. And I just don't want to participate in it.
But HPV is a very serious sexually transmitted disease, and a lot of people out here, excuse my French, raw dogging it. And you raw dogging, and then a woman doesn't know, and now it affects your ovaries and stuff. But again, I'm not a woman, and I agree with you that I don't think anybody should like force anyone to do anything.
Roe v. Wade.
There you go.
Right.
Sharik, Gigi, how y'all feel about it?
About the vaccine? Yeah.
She just
HPV is very common, actually. So I mean, yes, it can affect your ovaries, but you just gotta do your research. I always talk about research. So HPV is really not that serious, I guess. A lot of when it first came out, they said
we are not medical experts.
Yeah. No, we were just saying in general about like HPV along with coronavirus. Just how do you feel about vaccines and being that sort of thing?
I got you. I got you. When it first came out, they said that women can only get it and not men, which is why it was so highly contagious. And that's when they started to come out with the vaccination for it. And so people were like, "Oh man, let me go and get this vaccination because it can potentially make me sterile, and I may not be able to have children if it progresses to a certain level. I think it's called it's grade levels to it. And so a lot of people end up getting it. So how that relates to COVID is, I do think that there will be a point where we won't be able to do the same things that we're used to do unless you have the vaccine. Similar to your kids can't go to school unless they are vaccinated. And so over time, people will a lot of people will give in because they don't like to be uncomfortable. Prime example, people were like, "I'm not taking my kids to daycare with coronavirus." The kids have been home 8 months now. People are taking their kids to the daycare. So everyone's like, "I'm not going to get this vaccination. Not going to get this vaccination." Once it started taking away your privileges or the comfort level of what you used to be doing, a lot of people, I think, are going to go ahead and give into it.
Yeah, I just want to bring up a one of the points that was brought up. I'm the fact checker chick. I'm totally into bringing up the facts. So in regards to what I said in the hypotheticals that Trump kept bringing up, Biden did say if we just wore masks between now and social distancing between now and January, we would probably save up to 100,000 lives. Reports are stating that this is true. Scientists projecting that the death toll of the virus in the United States have noted that should the country maintain its current levels of physical distancing mandates and masking, more than 370,000 Americans could be dead by January 1st, 2021, and about 165,000 more than the current death toll. So I think I'm not too confident in a vaccine, to be completely honest, because typically vaccines take years and years and years, half a decade to really have something that's proven, that doesn't kill people, that has been well tested. I believe that we may just have to live in this new normal for the time being. Hopefully we get the right president in there that's going to abide by that and abide by science, and we'll just see where things go from here. I know things have been a little more lax as of late, but that death toll and the infection rate hasn't necessarily gone down.
Yeah, and I like what Kenneth said.
For you guys, I guess my question for you guys is: do you think that Trump should have opened up the economy sooner or later? Like, what do you guys think about his timeline in regards to how he opened up the economy?
Well, two parts. I think so. Kenneth said when Biden was VP, they dealt with H1N1 and Ebola, and those were new diseases, I believe, and we didn't have a pandemic. And I think that's what we should be talking about is having a sickness and having a virus going around and it being a pandemic versus it's just being a few hundred people. And I say that lightly. With the economy, I think, again, it's the ethics that we are subscribing to now. We prioritize capitalism and having fun rather than the public safety of our fellow citizens. And I think that's just, in my opinion, ethically immoral. So I think they should have sat down, had a plan for us to healthily and safely socially distance. And I think they should have said, if you don't want to participate in us safe socially distancing in a healthy way, then stay your ass at home. But right now, and giving us, this is what's going to happen so that you can be out and be social. And I'll cut this short, but when Lawrence said yesterday over the text about how generationally we have these problems, to me, it just like we are really entitled millennials and entitled everyone else because every generation has had their issues and we're the only ones complaining and can't, or in my opinion, I don't know what happened in the past, but the ones that can't sit down. And I mean, even I'm going to travel this week, I'm out because I'm tired of to being hunkered down. But I mean, it's just like we have to kind of stop being so individualistic. And I think that's where we are in society with the whole, like all the issues that we have in society right now is that we prioritize the individual rather than the community.
One thing that Trump did say that I was actually not expecting for him to say is he spoke on people being depressed for being locked into their homes for so long. He spoke about the suicide rate. That's not typically something that you would hear from, a conservative Republican, for that to be the basis of his argument, that we need to open up again because people are depressed and killing themselves. So that was really shocking to hear that. I do think that there's a lot of depression that's going around. And I think that, being stuck in the house and not being able to move the way we want to move intensifies that. And there has been reports that the suicide rate has gone up. Absolutely. But then it's like, okay, which one is the lesser of the two detriments? People committing suicide and then making the choice to commit suicide, or people unknowingly passing around a deadly disease to others and it potentially becoming worse before it gets better. So we're talking, again, a couple thousand versus tens of thousands, and eventually what could be another six-figure number of deaths.
And it's also like
open up the economy too soon, because I really want to know what you guys think. Like, Shariq and
well, that's what I'm saying. I disagree. I disagree with his argument. I disagree that, and he didn't say it was about the economy necessarily, and that's why I was surprised. He didn't say. I mean, he did, but he put more emphasis on mental health, which was, again, very surprising for me. I don't think we should be opening up as soon as we are. I do think that there's a lot of EDD fraud and everything else that's going on. And, people are definitely taking advantage of the system, and there are people that are struggling. But this is just forcing us to look at the infrastructure that we already had set in place and how it needs to be adjusted and to be fixed. But I don't think that we should be fully blown opening up until we have a better handle on this.
Okay, I just want to throw a couple more. I want to throw a couple more things in the pot, and thank you for bringing this up, Gigi. The next segue was to the economy in general. So to answer your question directly, I think he should have shut down the economy sooner, and probably opened it back up sooner. And I know I'm looking at it with like 20/20 vision from hindsight, but if he would have done it sooner, we might have been able to stop things. I was cracking up over here because I had like a very serious point to say, but then Chris, as he always does, put some in the comments. He said the Brits are living their life, and I'm tired of fine dining in my bedroom. And I feel both. I was dying when I saw that. Early in the pandemic, I'm gonna be honest with you. I definitely dealt with depression. I'm a very outgoing person. I like to just be outside. I don't care what I'm doing. I'll get in my car and just go. And so being on like serious lockdown, I was going crazy in the house. Mm-hmm. And with that being said, I've adapted some. I've learned how to sacrifice a little bit. Yet I'm still moving around a little bit. So like I'm trying to not be that selfish millennial, as Jasmine would say, but I'm still at the same time trying to deal with my own mental health. Now, in the economy in general, I just want to throw this in there too. There was a lot of talk about Donald Trump having the best economy ever in the world, in the history of America, blase, blase. Yes, unemployment numbers were down before coronavirus, but as I said, he also lowered the tax rates on the wealthy, lowered the corporate tax rates, and inherited a pretty much recession-proof economy that Obama and Biden had already built up. My question, piggybacking off of Gigi's, is apart from coronavirus, do you think that Trump's economy, his trickle-down method of, tax cuts for the rich, do you think that's sustainable? Is that an economy that you believe in? If that brings stock prices up and if that makes everything seem okay? Or are you more for, and even like Biden, he's not on the Bernie Sanders train, but are you more for a Bernie Sanders type of economy? I'm sorry.
Gang,
Biden
that's
economy.
I'm with gang on it. I was really, before you said Bernie Sanders, I was like, nah, I'm not trying to be a socialist. And no, I don't want to be a socialist, but I don't want to be, I think I like to use the word ethical capitalism. Shop black, recycle the black dollar.
Okay.
Right.
But what was your question about the economy? I think that his economy, no, it's great for the 1%. That's why the stock market is doing well, because the 1% is doing well. That is not the average American. It's not 99% of America. Like, we're forgetting the other 99%.
Just to piggyback off of what you're saying, where they at no point were they talking about the homeless rates that are happening in our country. Like, I just went home to the Bay Area, and I go home every so often, and there's a new homelessness encampment built up every time I go. Everywhere. So the fact that that's not even part of the conversation. Go ahead.
No. I'm glad you said that, because that's the whole point that I'm making. I think that I like what he said about. I love what he said about opening the economy back up, because businesses are like becoming obsolete and people are not able to sustain themselves. So with all these businesses are closed, people can't provide for their families. And not
but
only
they gave
that,
relief and gave it to the 1%.
Not only that, but the mental health aspect of it is that, like, divorce rates are going up, which he mentioned. He also mentioned the mental health statistics. And so the economy is suffering with a lot of the businesses being closed. I just came from Atlanta. They're wide open. Atlanta is booming. And you have the opportunity and the choice to decide if you're going to social distance, if you're going to wear a mask, but it's a choice. And that's kind of what he was saying yesterday. He was like, look, if it's kind of like being in jail a little bit when everything first happened. He's like, people should have the choice whether they want to social distance or whether they want to travel or whatever they want to do. There shouldn't be these stipulations on them that they have to mandate it to do certain things. People should be able to police themselves. And so there is homeless rates going up. People are in debt because they don't have jobs. A lot of my friends in the entertainment industry do not have jobs. And so my thing is, it should be a choice. It should be a choice. You should choose to say, like, if I want to go to work and risk it and get my corona test and risk it, then that should be my choice. If I decide, hey, I'm just going to stay at home and go on this severance and this unemployment, then that should be a choice. But to say that you're going to shut down the economy and give people $1,200, like, that's not realistic. Of course we're struggling. Of course there's homelessness. Of course we're sad. Of course we're depressed. Like, it's just
so, Gigi, I agree with you in a lot of points, right? Like, I'm in a position where, fortunately, this hasn't slowed down my income at all because of my profession. I've actually been more busy than ever. However, I can still see how that affects other people that have different types of jobs. So I mentioned this before, like FDR in the 1930s after the Depression came up with all these different rules and regulations. And mainly it was to protect individuals so they can have a choice. If you don't mandate that people have to stay at home, you know what employers are going to do? Just like they did at the Tesla factory, they're going to say, hey, you either come in, and if you don't, we're going to fire you. So it's not a real choice. If you just leave it open to business owners, they're just going to force people out the door. And then people are going to have to risk their lives. The people that have homes where they live with their elderly mothers or they live with their babies and stuff, when they have to make that choice and EDD isn't available and the factory itself isn't shut down, those factory owners are going to make you come to work one way or another. So it's hard, you know?
I think we also have to look at the fact that when we say shutting down the economy, we don't literally mean them shutting down the economy without a plan. The problem is there was never a sufficient plan set into place in order to allow for certain protections and allow for certain things. Well, that's because Trump didn't have a plan.
Because he's not right.
So what I'm saying, let me finish. What I'm saying is the economy being shut down in totality is not really what the issue is. The issue is that there was never a plan to begin with to allow for things to happen in a way that was more functional. Because, okay, so if my job opens back up and I have a pre-existing condition, I'm basically playing roulette with my life. I shouldn't have to be forced to play roulette with my life if I know I'm susceptible to getting this virus. But okay, now I have to go back to work. If a plan was set in place prior to this, and keep in mind, Trump dismantled Obama and Biden's disaster. Well, I forget what the technical
disaster
term.
relief fund. Yeah.
Yes, he dismantled all of the protections that Obama and the Democrats have set in place so that this would not happen to begin with. So now we're kind of doing the reverse, and we're dealing with the aftermath of destruction from what this man had already set into place. So I think at this point, we're dealing with a much larger issue. And I don't think that we should just willy-nilly, if I'm going to use that word, just open things up the way that we had. And I think if we do get a new administration and that has experience with these types of things, I think we may be better off.
And the thing is, instead of him making the plan when he knew it in January, when we shut down in March, he still could have made a plan then. He had months to make a plan and just never did. And then Shariq, what you said about it's unemployment fraud. Well, what's the difference in unemployment fraud if Trump is only paying $750 in his taxes? And then also those people that are doing unemployment fraud, they're the ones that's going to be in jail next year because they are tracking them people.
I also want to mention.
Go ahead.
I also want to mention the fact, since we're talking about Europe, one of the things that really bothers me about Trump and what he says is how he calls it the China virus. We know that the disease came here through Europe. So he shut down travel, but he did not shut down travel back and forth to Europe, which is where they traced it. That's where we got the disease. So just in totality, there was just never a plan set in place. I think now we're just kind of in a hellhole and we got to dig ourselves out. But should we just open everything back up? I don't think so.
So I just
don't think that there's going to be a plan anytime soon as outside of the vaccination. So Shariq, to your point earlier, you were like, okay, well, since there's no plan, do I risk my life if I'm susceptible to certain illnesses? And it's kind of like, well, you either, I guess, get the vaccination or maybe do a different industry. I don't really know, because there's a lot of people that could be in that particular situation. So it's like, do you just stay closed forever? What plan could there be if this is supposed to be a highly contagious virus and nobody really wants to get the vaccination for it? We can't just stay inside forever.
Well, there could be an economic plan that could take some of that chunk off the 1% and disperse it to the middle and lower class. That could be a start. That could be something that could be looked into, definitely, so that people aren't forced to have to go back to work. They could better execute on EDD and PUA and all of these other resources so that people don't have to go back to work. But again, these are things that this administration just don't care about and don't think about. They want to throw a little $1,200 at us, the $300 extra on the EDD. That only lasted for a couple of months, and now everybody's sitting around stuck. So I think there's a twofold thing. We're dealing with the virus, but we're also dealing with economic downfall, because once again, the economics are not set up for lower print time, period. We have to make the rich to deal with that. The rich aren't sitting around contemplating, should I go to work today? They don't have to. They got money in the bank.
Right. And you know what? I think if Trump was such a great businessman, I think the most successful entrepreneurs, and we're entrepreneurs, so we know this, is to have creative ideas. So reimagine what socialization looks like. We're talking about having Tesla and going underground and having these modern cities. Why can't we just shut down and say, all right, 2024 or 2023, we're going to have these modern cities. Everyone's going to be able to socially distance safely. You'll still be able to interact. We'll have all this modern technology, blah, blah, blah. We'll be ahead of China. That's a plan. That's a radical idea. If you had that idea, I might vote for it. Sorry for my language.
Well, I want to say that I really respect Gigi's opinion, because there are a lot of people in our community that really feel that way, that are really like, hey, and I get it. Like, you want your autonomy, you want your rights, you want to be able to make your own decisions. And I'm always like torn at that same position too. With that being said, I do want to go into one of our other topics, and I feel like this is going to turn out to be the meat and potatoes of this today's show: race and violence. Right. So that's the way that the moderators termed the question or coined the segment and the debate. And I feel like, just personally, that's racist on its own front. We don't need to conflate race and violence. They don't always go together. Every time we talk about racial injustice in this country, it doesn't have to be about a protest or about somebody breaking into a store. Regardless, race and violence, Trump came out on one side. He said what I consider to be some deplorable things. He told the Proud Boys to stand back and be ready in case there is any corruption in the elections. He didn't at all denounce white supremacy. On the other side, Biden actually said for the first time that we do have, not for the first time, but said out his mouth that we have a racial injustice problem in this country. That is, to me, where this debate turned, and it was the most obvious that they were on complete polar opposites. There was no overlapping. There was no meeting of the minds. It's that Trump firmly believes that we don't have a race problem in this country. He firmly believes that Proud Boys and Antifa are both terrorist organizations. He firmly believes that moving forward, we need to make America great again, how it has been in the past. As a Black man, I don't think America was ever great in the past in that way. And at least Biden is saying, giving lip service. I don't know what he'll do when he gets in office, but he's actually admitting and articulating that we do have a race problem. So I just want to open up to y'all. I guess we can start there. Do we all agree that there's a race problem in America, or is that a debatable topic? I just want to hear everybody's point. I don't want to assume. We can just start there. Is America a racist country?
I wouldn't say it is a racist country, as I would say it was built on the foundation of racism. I think there's no argument in that. I mean, African Americans built this country on their backs as slaves, and we didn't get paid for it. So to not take ownership and to not speak on that, and to not see that there has been a trickle-down effect to us as African-American and urban millennials. This is the Young Urban Professional Network. Have we been able to pull ourselves up by our bootstrap? Absolutely. But we definitely started with less boots, so I appreciate the vice president for saying that so eloquently, and Trump he can't accept it because that's not his base.
I think what bothers me is that I don't feel like anyone really addressed certain topics. They specifically asked Joe Biden, how do you feel about the Black Lives Matter movement? And he really didn't address it. What he did say was he didn't believe in defunding the police. And he said, if anything, he thinks they should get more money. Now, the only thing that I agree with on that statement, he said, so that psychologists or mental health professionals can go out with, some of the police force. That is something that I did agree with it. But a specific question, how do you feel about Black Lives Matter? I was on the edge of my seat. Wait. He didn't address it. He also said he doesn't believe in defunding the police.
Drinking my tea.
So my thing is, I hate to say it, but both of them really didn't, I don't think, answer that question a bit. Neither one of them had answers that I felt like, I was like, yay, oh my God, this is great. No, neither one of them did. Those were the questions.
Gigi,
how are you going to deal with COVID and Black Lives Matter are the two questions that I was really looking forward to.
I think that people want to know, though, for this panel, the question is, do you believe that America is a racist country?
Yeah, but we already said that. I mean,
Okay. I don't want to assume. I don't want to assume.
We'll go back a couple episodes.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Go to the archives. You already know that. You know.
I think
but if
the
we're gonna
country.
talk about,
yeah, I think the country is fundamentally racist, and I mean, and you know, shout out to Mr. McKnight, Berkeley High African American Studies Department, who taught all of his students the definition of racism is not just, oh, I'm prejudiced against this one group of people. The definition of racism is systemically stopping people from being able to advance because of the color of their skin or whatever that their differences may be. So yes, absolutely. I do think that this country is racist. And I do think that Biden spoke to that, which I haven't seen since Obama. What he said when he said this country has systemic racism. He said it.
That one line is, so he's stating the obvious. Okay.
So there's Trump ain't saying it. Trump's not saying it though. Most politicians aren't saying it. So I appreciated the fact that he did say it. And then in regards to him speaking on Black Lives Matter, that's such a touchy topic. Just like Trump isn't going to, say I'm with the Proud Boys. A lot of people think that Black Lives Matter is an institution, one, that was started by a white man. And it's a very, very, very radical organization. So if Biden were to align himself with Black Lives Matter, then he would be therefore distancing himself from a particular base that he needs in order to win the election.
Right. You can't.
I wasn't surprised that he didn't speak to that. I wasn't surprised by that at all.
Yeah, they called it.
Can we just let the audience know why we were all laughing, Jasmine? Can you read Chris's comment and then go? You got to read that one for us.
Joe Biden and Trump talking about black folks because they is a pantry with delayed chips. Nobody wanted that.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So I think I too think this is a racist country. However, I'm taking this class at University of Akron. Shout out to Jaya Thomas. Y'all know her, entertainment lawyer. Y'all know Jaya. But anyways, so University of Akron having this free class on racial equity and the law. So what the professor's Asian, but he's real as hell. So he was talking about how we have to think about racism as two factors, where it's malice and merit. So us as Black people, we think we have all this merit where we built this country. We've gone through hell and we're still going through hell, right? But we pulled ourselves up by the bootstraps, what the Republicans want us to do. But now we're in this situation where, okay, we pulled ourselves by our bootstraps. We become president, but that's not even enough for you to say that I'm an equal American. You constantly deny my Americanism, and you're telling me that to be American is to be a straight white a straight white male. And I think that's where the problem lies, is that white supremacists, and I loosely say this, the GOP doesn't identify Black people as Americans. They still identify us as captured people out of Africa who came here to build this country. And honestly, they're like, all right, y'all built it, now y'all can go do what y'all need to do, rather than ingraining us in society in an equitable way.
Definitely.
So I agree with that. I know I tried to skirt around the question. I didn't answer it. I just asked it.
What is your answer to that question?
Right. I believe that we live in a very, very troubled America. One of my academic icons or inspirations has always been Thurgood Marshall. And his understanding, he was the first Black Supreme Court justice, and he was able to serve on the Supreme Court justice, but understand that this country has never really paid its debt to African Americans, and it's never really done what it said it's going to do for all people until really, the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. And even post that, we live in a country where we are still not given equal rights, equal freedoms. So with that being said, yes, it's a racist country. It just is. Until you can give equitable rights, equitable freedoms to all people, then yes, that is the term that will be associated with this country. And that doesn't mean I hate the country. That doesn't mean that I don't love America. I can love something and still point out where they're wrong and still need to grow. And we have a lot of growth that we need to have. It's unfortunate that we have any type of leadership that doesn't respect and even believe in the facts of the history of America and doesn't really understand all of the work and sweat, equity and merit, as you were saying, Jasmine, that Black people have put into this country. So what I want to see from either political party, from either presidential candidate, is more than give lip service as Trump has done, saying he has a platinum plan for Black people. More than just say, you know what, the Black unemployment rate is down, I want to give money to Black HBCUs. That's all great. But in order to stop the root of the issue, we need to start talking about equality of identity, equality of person. We need to stop uplifting and dog whistling to all of these white supremacist groups. You can't sit here and tell me you care about Black people and you want to give money to a Black college, but at the same time, you believe that white supremacist organizations are okay. So when we stop doing that, when we get to the root of the cause, the root of the issue, and that's people treating other people and seeing other people differently because of the race of their descent, people believing in this biological connection to, a pure race, or that certain people are better than others. When we start getting an administration that dismantles that, A, then B, I want to see legislation and funding go into support underserviced communities that have been historically underserved. So it's not just HBCUs. I want to see money go to early childhood education in the hood, to, even as the Black Panthers tried to do for so many years, give food to kids in schools in lunch programs. Like, that was started by a quote unquote radical organization. So that's what I want to see. So yes, I'm comfortable saying it. If you support racism, you're a racist too. I think that's very important too, from what we saw in the debate yesterday. I'm tired of people saying, you know what, I just support Trump because of his economic issues. I don't know about all that other stuff. Let me tell you, from a legal standpoint, if you give somebody a gun and you know that person with the gun is about to go kill somebody, you're going to get charged with murder just as well. You cannot absolve yourself of duty or of any guilt or fault just because you're like, well, I didn't want him to do it. If you knew that this person was racist, if you know what this person is doing, you still vote for them, then you're just as culpable as Donald Trump.
Right. So
I'm just going to say that's my last word.
One of the comments that I saw that was really funny, and I wanted to just say it. They just were saying, excuse me, I think the word you're looking for is reparations, which was definitely
like reparations.
Definitely not something that was brought up last night. And I know another thing that they were talking about is, should we have another debate? They were saying because it was so flagrant, because, current 45 was doing the most, and Biden, unfortunately got drug in. He did call the man a clown a couple times, which I thought was hilarious. He also told him to shut up, which I also thought was hilarious and justified. But they didn't talk about reparations. And I think if we're going to talk about America and racism and systemic racism, I think that conversation needs to be had. I personally I'm just ready for Kamala to just go all over it, just get it done with old boy.
It's not her own executive orders.
No, I'm ready to see that debate between Kamala and the current vice president.
Oh, intense! Oh, that's going to be hilarious.
I was hoping Biden could tag her in real quick, like it was like we doing WWE. Like, can we get Kamala in here real quick?
Where he was like, man, would you just shut up? Or no, he was like, would you just shut up, man? He should have just walked off stage then and said,
Kamala was going in on the Democratic debates, so I know she's ready. She went on everybody. She had the fire.
Yeah, so we're definitely going to cover that. But I do want to go ahead. We're getting close to the top of the hour, and I think we should go ahead and do a roundtable. We do apologize for the technical difficulties. They don't want us to win. They don't want us having these conversations. But continue to support us nonetheless. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for viewing. You can also view some of our previous episodes on the YouTube channel as well as on our Facebook. So we'll do a roundtable. Hopefully we can get Gigi back in to say her final thoughts. But I'll go ahead and throw it to you, Jasmine.
So my final thought is, I saw a tweet that said, after last night's debate, do not expect me to code switch after that ghetto nonsense. We had an episode a few weeks ago when we first started, and the question was, do you code switch? And I think I was the only one on the panel that said, no, I don't. So again, be true to your beautiful Blackness. Black lives do matter. Justice for Breonna Taylor always.
And text justice.
And text justice
Yes.
to
Yes.
31996. I'm so proud of them. We launched the 50th anniversary. Was it the 50th this year? No, it wasn't the 50th. We launched the anniversary of the I Have a Dream speech, and we've been watching really well. Building a community. Community is thriving. Like us on Facebook. When you text it, it'll send you a link to download, and then we're going to start doing some SMS campaigns. So stay tuned.
Yeah, and then I'll go ahead. I'll let Lawrence close out. I've been having really interesting conversations with people. I think we should have an in-depth conversation about voting in general. I think a lot of people, especially within our community, feel as though it's not necessary, feel as though their vote won't really be counted. I do know that they are also trying to end census counting early. And these are things that we need to be concerned about, because as we were having our conversation before we went live, a lot of people don't know, representation is a huge issue within this country. A lot of us don't know that DC and Puerto Rico, which are heavily populated with Black and brown people, do not have representation. And there's a whole trickle down effect from the top office in the land down to our local politics in regards to our representation. So I don't know if it's too late to do the census. I think yesterday may have been the last day, but in the future, please become knowledgeable and fully aware of the systems that are allotted to us to be able to affect and cause real change. Please make sure that you're getting your ballots in. We didn't even get on the topic of voter fraud that Boy 45 likes to talk about heavily. I have some fact checks on that, but we'll definitely talk about that in a later episode. But
this is every 10 years. So after this year, you're stuck until 2030.
Yeah. Gigi?
Last word, Gigi?
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. Technical difficulties. I'm on my phone tonight, so my apologies. To the viewers as well. Final words I would just say is, guys, I'm always one that I like both sides of the story. And so I would just encourage everyone to not just go with what social media says, but actually listen to both candidates, hold both candidates accountable. I think that that's sometimes where we may go wrong in society, is we go with the flow without fact checking, as Shariq loves to say, or without really having an individualistic mind, as Jasmine said earlier. So I really just encourage you guys to do your research on things. So when some of these candidates are saying certain things, go on Google, look it up to see if it's true. And then from there, make your decision, but don't make it just based upon what you see on social media, because sometimes you see a clip and not the whole thing. And then I would also like to say, and I say it every week and I'll say it all again, protect your peace. It's really, really important. Don't let this distract you from your goals, your dreams. We should all be millionaires at some point in our lives, and we have the capability to do so. It's all about being innovative, learning about investing, and different ways to file your taxes. All right, that's
it. CPAs.
Hey.
Follow us on Instagram. Like, share, and let us know what you think. And thank you guys for tuning in with us. We appreciate you every week. You guys are loyal to us, and we are forever grateful.
Lauren?
Oh, I still gotta go?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I want to say that thank everybody for tuning in. Of course, I love this conversation today. I feel more motivated than ever. That was the most viewed debate in history. And so I was a little afraid that people were becoming apathetic and just giving up on the political process, giving up on their rights. But more people are listening, whether you agree or disagree. People that were talking about I'll never vote are saying like I might vote, or at least they're tuning in. That's all I care about. Active participation, knowing who your politicians are, knowing what's going on in the world so you can make your own informed decision in life. So I'm more ecstatic than ever. I would also be remiss if I didn't say, of course, Black women matter. There was a breaking story in the Breonna Taylor case.
Yes.
I thought it was completely over. We talked about it briefly last week, but one of the jurors has done something that's really unprecedented. He sued himself we don't know who the jury is yet. It's still anonymous, but sued to get the grand jury testimony released. That's something that almost never happens. And so now you have the attorney general that we spoke about kind of backtracking on some of the stuff he said. And maybe there is, we don't know. We'll definitely report on it next week to see if there's any potential in getting some other legal justice for Breonna Taylor. But again, stay motivated, stay excited, know your politicians. Black love is real. Black lives matter, and just love each other. We're going in the right direction. You know what I'm saying? We're going in the right direction.
All right.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Have a good one.